Welcome back to Zolder, the race number 2 now. And in race number 1, we saw a very strong dominator. We saw Norbert Kiss and Steffi Halm. She is now on the pole position. She started at 11 and the first race ended up at 8. And now she is on the pole. And now I wish you all good luck and a lot of fun with our commentators, Jack and Ebi.
Thank you very much, Chris, down on the grid. And I saw in the background while he was doing a little piece to camera, the number 25, Heinrich Clemens-Hecker, will make it out for race 2. That truck is running there. Also is the beautiful Ford F-Max. That is the official truck of the FIA European Truck Racing Championship, and it plays host to a raft of groundbreaking development. It's massively focused on efficiency. It's got a 12-speed automatic transmission. It's got empowered by variable geometry turbocharger, water pump compressor with working multiple speeds. It brings technology to a whole new level, and it's great to see it out there alongside the Iveco S-Way. There we go, the pace truck for the FIA ETRC, and that is just a brilliant piece of machinery as well. Like all Iveco's natural power gas vehicles, this new pace truck is on bio LNG and is ready for use on it as well. It does not only reduce nitrogen dioxide and soot emissions, it also reduces carbon dioxide emissions up to 95% as well. So helping us bring motorsport and the general world of logistics to a whole new greener level, and that is obviously brilliant to see as well. So welcome once again to the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Welcome to race 2. My name is Jack Werrell. I run you through this morning's qualifying and race 1 action, and I will be here for race 2 as well as tomorrow as well. Even more on-track action tomorrow. We've got qualifying 2 as well as Super Pole 2, and then 2 more races for you. Previously, we saw a brilliant race from Norbert Kies, led from lights to flag, and he was hounded by Jochen Hahn. However, towards the end of the race, he picked up a penalty and dropped right the way down the order to eventually cross the line in 12th place. Sasha Lenz and Antonio Albertetti rounded out your overall podium. And then Theo Calvert, Jamie Anderson and Stefan Faas were your chrome podium finishers. So a great race from everyone involved. We've had a little bit of on-track action as well in between race 1 and race 2. We've seen action from the Ford Fiesta Sprint Cup. They had their second free practice session of the weekend, as well as the Dutch Truck Racing Cup. They had their first race of the weekend. And most recently, we had the Cup and Torenfagen Trophy. They had their second qualifying session. There you can see the number 20 of Theo Calvert working his way onto the grid. He will start on the front row alongside reverse grid pole sitter Steffi Halm. We spoke to her before the race, and she said she's looking forward to working her way forward, quite literally, during the race. She started in 11th and finished 8th, exactly what she needed to get reverse grid pole position. So it's absolutely brilliant for Steffi. If you are new to the series, we do have qualifying in the morning, a 20-minute qualifying session. And then that is for everybody to compete for their way into the Super Pole session. The top 10 from the initial qualifying go through to what is called a Super Pole session. That is a 10-minute flat-out session. Anybody, like I say, in that first qualifying session to finish in the top 10, and then that decides the grid. Race 1 is going off, of course, qualifying and Super Pole, but the finishing order from race 1 is reversed. Well, in theory, the top 8 are reversed. So if you finish first in race 1, you will start 8th in race 2. So that is why Norbert Kies, pardon me, is starting in 8th alongside Sasha Lenz on row 4 of the grid. So very busy grid, lots of traffic to work their way through. Keep your eye on Jochen Hahn. Of course, with that penalty in the morning, he will be looking to make amends for that. We do have Christopher down on the grid with Steffi Halm, pole sitter.
Hello, Steffi Halm. We talked before the last race, you remember, and you said the biggest problem was my fault. I was the biggest problem. Now you're on the pole position. What do you think is the situation, and all problems are solved?
I think everything can happen in the race. My plan is to have a good start, to win the start and stay in the front, and then I hope I can be a little bit better, a little bit quicker in the lap times, maybe get some gap so I don't have to fight too much. But this is all the plan, you know. I'm happy to be lucky in the first race to get the 8th position. And yes, now I will fight for the podium.
That was a fabulous first race. What happened there that you succeed?
Yeah, I was just able to overtake Jamie, so gain 1 position and finish 10. And then we had 2 penalties during or after the race. Jochen get a time penalty because of overspeed, and also Shane got a penalty. I don't know why exactly, but it was gaining an advantage, and so he got a 10 seconds penalty, and that's why I swapped into 8. Yeah, for me it was really lucky, because normally I finish 10.
What do you think, how much pressure you will get from behind?
For sure there will be a lot of pressure, because the lap times, when you look at the lap times also in the qualifying, the gap is big, so I hope that I can close a little bit the gap of the lap times. For sure it's the second race, and the lap times are always a little bit slower in the race, especially than if you compare to the qualifying. So I hope that we have a good speed to stay in front and fight for the podium.
Thank you very much and good luck. Thank you. Yeah, back to you.
So, after a great little word in the cockpit from Chris with Steffi Harm, great to hear what she thinks of this upcoming race. You can probably just about see it on the screen, and with the I think the rain solution being applied to the front of Teo Calvet's Freightliner, I do think we are getting more and more rain. The wind is picking up, the rain is falling. There you can see just the extent of the rain. So if these trucks wanted to go sideways in the dry, they're going to want to go even more sideways in the wet. And now you can see the ponchos being applied and the umbrellas being opened. But this crowd is persistent. They will sit and watch what is going to be a brilliant race on the way. So with Steffi Harm on pole position, she is one of our Titan drivers. However, Teo Calvet starting alongside on the front row is one of our Chrome drivers. So the Titan drivers, in theory, the pro drivers, they are the more successful of the drivers on the grid. So if they are an FIA European Truck Racing Championship champion in the last 10 years, they qualify. The same if they finished top 8 last season, and if they finished 6th, or if they finished better than 6th in any Super Pole sessions last season, or they are a Platinum FIA categorized driver, they qualify for that Titan category. If they are a Chrome driver, it almost classes them as an AM. It also means they are eligible for the Goodyear Cup. And of course, with Teo Calvet picking up another Goodyear Cup, as well as a very successful weekend last time out at Most, he's really got the bit between his teeth and he's ready to push forward for the rest of the season. So the rain really starting to fall. The heavens have definitely opened. This morning, I looked at the weather and it said there is a very mild chance of rain, and I'm afraid I don't believe that at all anymore, because look at the rain. It's raining so heavily that even the turbocharger aboard Norbert Kies's truck is in fact steaming. So it is a very, very, very wet day down there. There you can see just the extent of the water falling. So I'm sure a lot of these drivers are very glad that it's a rolling start here, because getting one of these off the line is hard enough as it is, let alone in the wet. So everybody's got their work cut out for them. Steffi Harm, our pole sitter, just hidden behind our Iveco S-Way pace truck. And there you can see just how heavy the rain is falling. So lots of action on the way, no doubt. And I'm sure race 2 is going to be even closer than race 1. There is Norbert Kies with a couple of engineers in the cab. sure just talking him through, I think potentially trying to find some cover from the rain, because it is an incredibly wet day. It's suddenly turned. It was somewhat dry earlier on, and the heavens have opened, and just look at how much water has fallen already. A very, very, very wet race on the way. And if Luis Riquenco had an electrical issue in the dry, I dread to think what will happen in the wet. Hopefully the team have managed to track down that issue, solve it, and get him back out for race 2. Heinrich Clementecker, from what I've seen, will be returning to the grid. I saw him driving behind our brilliant host Chris earlier on. And of course, after speaking to Steffi Harm, she mentioned Jochen Hahn. He did have that time penalty for overspeeding. I think he got a time penalty initially for the first offence, and then the second offence got him a slightly more substantial penalty. So Jochen Hahn, after crossing the line in second place, after everything was said and done, that became 12th place. And then, of course, Shane Brereton, Steffi reminded me of that one. Shane Brereton, after what I heard was an illegal overtake, so whether it be using too much of the track limits or after looking at the rather scarred MAN in the hands of Shane Brereton, I suspect there was a fair bit of contact between Shane and Theo Calvert. So it meant that even though he was instructed to give the position back, having not either acknowledged that or maybe not seen it or not heard it over the radio, he got a penalty in the after the race, which meant he classified in 11th place, allowing, like Steffi said, to get that 44 Iveco onto the front row of the grid. Theo Calvert sat alongside. You can see the 77 of Rene Reina sat in 3rd place. Keep an eye on him. Very quick driver. Had a brilliant race in race 1. Keep an eye on him for race 2. Same with Andre Kurzim alongside in the number 11 Iveco. 2 very good drivers on row 2. So we'll have to make sure we keep an eye on the pair of those two. And then, as I mentioned in qualifying and race 1, it's all down to how these drivers react to these conditions, because if they've gone out on a dry setup, then obviously you've got to make sure you make the pressure changes quick enough for the wet conditions. The race start has indeed been delayed. I do believe it is because of the weather. Very, very, very serious downpour. The last thing you want is to be sending minimum 5.3 ton trucks howling around a very wet Zolder circuit. That's the last thing you would want. So I'm sure that we will have some action for you on the way very soon. But of course, safety has to be the priority here, especially with the machinery we're dealing with. But there's lots of off-track action, so I've heard as well. Of course, the paddock is absolutely full of all of the series we've got on show this weekend. Great camera angle here, looking inside one of the Bigera Freightliners. I can't quite pick out. I think that could be Theo Calvert. I'm hearing we have Christopher with another interview.
Yeah, Tony Eden is at my side. He's a series coordinator. Quite wet. Yeah, slightly wet. So what are the news we see over there? Start delayed. What you can tell us?
Yes. In truck racing, we only have one set of tyres. We don't have dry tyres. We don't have wet tyres. We have an intermediate. When the rain gets excessive, like this, we have a heavy shower, it's dangerous to start a race. So we have what we call a wet race start. So we've delayed the procedure till the track dries out a little, and then we'll go through the wet procedure.
Mm-hmm. So what does it mean concretely? So what do you think? What is the weather forecast?
We think this is a shower. I've just spoken to the local organisers. They're talking of about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
So everybody just waits until we're ready.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, and maybe a dry shirt. That's better. Thank you very much. Okay, 20 minutes. You heard what Mr. Tony said. 20 minutes. We have a delay.
So quite a sizable delay planned, but as was mentioned, it's all about safety here. And with there only being one compound of tyre, we've got to make sure that everybody is safe. And with there being, I think they're somewhat semi-slicks, they do have a treaded pattern on them. And of course, they do have the wear indicators. Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. Of course, the rain really isn't ideal, but we've got to make sure that motorsport is safe, and of course the marshals and the track officials and all the organisers do everything they can to make it safe. The one thing they can't control is the weather, so got to make sure that everybody can continue circulating. There are our wonderful marshals. They've of course had a lunch break today, and they've got another little break here, so time to catch up on some social media by the looks of it, and time to get some food ready for the next on-track action. We've got around about a 20-minute delay. We should be going live. We should be racing, pardon me, at around about 4:30 local time, 3:30 if you are watching in the UK. But we've just got to wait and see, I believe. Of course, we've got more on-track action tomorrow, hopefully without the rain. I did have a quick look at the weather, and, well, I looked at the weather for today, and it said it wouldn't rain, and now look what's happened. But hopefully, if it's accurate for tomorrow, the sun should come out a little bit as well. So we will have yet further qualifying sessions tomorrow and 2 more races as well. So plenty to look forward to. And this beautiful Zolder circuit, on the face of it at the moment, it's rather soggy and I'm sure not necessarily a pleasant place to be. But when the weather really does swing our way, it is a brilliant, brilliant circuit, not only to spectate from, but to drive as well. I've spoken to a couple of people that have driven around here, and they say it's so complex because you've got 3 chicanes, but there's only 11 turns, and there's a real raft of turns as well. You've got tight 90-degree turns, you've got hairpins, you've got flowing left and right-handers. So it's quite a tricky circuit to get a handle on. Of course, it played host to 10 F1 championship rounds between the years of 1973 and 1983. Super League Formula came here, so did Champ Car and the Blancpain Series. Most recently, we've had DTM, and of course the FIA European Truck Racing Championship, as well as the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So the circuit is no stranger to some brilliant events. I'm hearing that Heinrich Clemens Hecker in his MAN, after the turbocharger issue in qualifying, he couldn't get out to finish the end of qualifying. He never managed to take to the grid for race 1, and I don't believe he will start race 2 either. So the number 25 machine, Heinrich Clemens Hecker, they've had a horrible day, and with very little on-track action. I think only 3 laps completed for himself in qualifying, very little running in as well. So tomorrow they're going to have to almost use qualifying as a practice session to get all the data they need. We do have Christopher down in the pit lane for another interview.
Yeah, interview with Jan Kalivoda from Bulgaria. What do you think? What does it mean now for the driver, this delay?
A delay is not a problem. The conditions are a pickle to solve, to make the best setup. Whether it's going to be wet or if it's going to dry out, I think this is the pickle.
Have you been surprised by the weather?
We knew that something's supposed to be coming, but you know, if it's like 100% raining or 100% dry, this is the easy thing. But when the conditions are changing, I think this is the game where the game starts.
We know that all the drivers have this intermediate tires on. How dangerous it would be if they go out now?
I don't see any danger there. It's just up to the driver to adapt to the conditions. So of course you play with the tire pressure, and then the second thing is up to the driver. And I think our drivers, especially Adam, are really skilled on a wet conditions. So I think he's really enjoying driving on the wet conditions. But these conditions are not even wet, so we will see how it goes.
Yeah. You just mentioned Adam, your driver. Why he is so strong when it's wet?
Yeah, I think it's just the skill, because I've seen many drivers, but he's really unbelievable on a wet condition, because it's really up to the driver to adapt, to have a feeling for the wet conditions, and then what he is capable to do on the wet conditions, to me, is unbelievable. So he's really great. So
maybe a little advantage for your driver now, these conditions?
So far, yes, but you never know, and we will see. And especially when the wet condition, the start is with a yellow flag, you can't do much. So later on, you can perform.
Okay, thank you very much, and back to you.
So great to hear the point of view down on the pit lane. Thank you very much, Chris, for that one. And that was one of the members of the Bulgaria Racing team. And Bulgaria Racing, the only team to run the bonneted version of any truck out this weekend. They run 3 Freightliners one of which is on the front row, the number 20 of Teo Calvert. He can be spotted with the blue flashes on his Freightliner, so it has a blue fifth wheel, a blue wing mirrors and blue headlight covers. Alaya Kolok, she runs in the number 29 machine with the red flashes on her truck with a red fifth wheel, red wing mirrors and red headlight covers. And then it's Adam Latchko in the number 55 machine, 2017 champion of the FIA ETRC. He can be spotted with the yellow flashes on his truck. So the 1 minute board has popped up. I still believe we've got around about a 13-minute delay, or so I've been told. Potentially we could get going slightly earlier than expected. We will be starting under yellow flag conditions, of course, with safety being the highest priority. So we've got to make sure that while everybody wants to go racing, we do so safely. The Iveco S-Way Pace truck sat at the head of affairs. Of course, Iveco have just signed another 3-year extension of its long-standing partnership here at the ETRA, and it won't only continue to be an official partner. The transport vehicle manufacturer will also provide the bio LNG, the liquefied natural gas powered Iveco S-Way, as the pace truck for all future events as well. So it's great to see that out. We are now rolling, and we are on one of the warming up laps, so everybody will get a feel for the circuit, find out where the lines are and where the preferred lines are. So of course the wet lines, the dry lines, everything like that. And in the early stages of the race, before a dry line has even really appeared, I think the best thing to do is almost take the go-karting line. So avoid the curbs, but avoid the apex. Go round the outside, which is sort of less rubbered in, and you'll find that there's a little bit more grip out there. I'm not sure how that denotes in a truck. Of course, 5.3 tons. If you turn in late, it's probably the last thing you want to do. But we'll see, as the race will be getting underway very, very soon. You can see Steffi Harm, our pole sitter, sat at the front ahead of the number 20 of Teo Calvert. And then we have René Reiner and Andre Kursim alongside. So a very busy grid. We'll have to keep an eye on that second row, because it looks like René Reiner and Andre Kursim are in for one very good race. Riding on board with one of the 3 trucks we have onboard cameras with this weekend, Norbert Kish, race 1 winner, championship leader, the number 41 Hungarian behind the wheel of his MAN, will start alongside Sasha Lenz. Sasha finishing 3rd on the road in race 1, but after further reviews from race control, he did take to the 2nd step of the podium and will do everything he can to remain within touching distance of Norbert Kish. Of course, Norbert sat at the top of the championship standings on 84 points. Sasha sat in 2nd on 81 points. That's going into this weekend, however. So points have been distributed from race 1, of course, as well. There is the Iveco S-Way Pace truck just working its way through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, and then heading up towards Terlemenbocht. You can see everybody all single file working their way through there. There is the number 17 of Shane Brereton, having picked up a penalty from race 1. So did Jochen Hahn. So keep an eye on the pair of those two, making amends for their shortcomings in race 1. But here is the grid for race 2 of the weekend, race 10 of the championship. It's Steffi Harm lining up on pole position with Teo Calvert alongside. Then it's René Reiner and Andre Kursim alongside. Row 3 of the grid is Adam Latchko and Antonio Albertetti. Then we have Sasha Lenz and Norbert Kiss on row 4. Jamie Anderson has Stefan Faust for company on row 5 of the grid. Stefan Faust with a very good race 1. Shane Brereton lines up in 11th with Jochen Hahn alongside. Then it's Alea Kolok and Luke Garrett. And rounding out your grid for today is Luis Riquenco. And we're hearing Heinrich Clemens Hecker will not be taking to the grid, unfortunately. So a 15-strong truck grid for race 2 of the weekend. The Iveco S-Way Pace truck will peel its way off to the right, the left-hand side of your screen, of course, into the pit lane, and it will be Steffi Harm that controls the pace towards the line, of course, starting under yellow flag conditions. Working their way through Jackie Xbocht. You can see the yellow flag still being waved. Steffi Harm leading at the moment, bringing us towards the timing line to get race 2 underway. And in theory, we are now underway. There goes Steffi Harm with Teo Calvert just behind. And now we are going. Everybody, once they're past the timing line, can resume to their racing speed and can start pushing forward a little bit more. They can start to find the pace in the trucks, and everybody, you can see the body language of the trucks has drastically changed. It's Steffi Harm leading the way. Teo Calvert under pressure a little bit there from René Reina. Of course, the last thing you want to do is overtake in a yellow flag zone, so you can push each other around. A little bit of mind games potentially, just showing each other where you're potentially going to look for a move. René looking to the inside, heading in towards Lucien Bianchi-Bocht. And now back down the straight we go. Still Steffi Harm leading the way, with Teo Calvert just behind. Looking up the inside there is Andre Kurzim. But of course, he can't really do anything about it because you are in a yellow flag zone. You can have a look, you can show each other potentially where you're going to think about going for a move, but acting upon it is not allowed, especially in a yellow flag zone under yellow flag conditions at the start of race 2 of the weekend. Yellow flags being waved by our Sterling Marshals. So the speed still picking up, everybody just finding the limits. The last thing you want to do is make a mistake now when you've got a freight train of trucks behind. And once the yellow flags have been brought in by the marshals, overtaking will then be allowed. But it's Harm up at the front with Calvert alongside. And then it's René Reina sat there in 3rd place at the moment. In towards Volderberg-Bocht. It's just all about keeping that speed up, getting the temperature into the tyres and the brakes, making sure when we are under green flag conditions, everything is up to temperature and within its optimal operating window, so you can start pushing forward. As and when overtaking is allowed up to the 100 mile an hour or 160 kilometre an hour speed limit. And of course, crossing the line once again. So 1 lap of the Zolder circuit completed, 2.49 miles or 4.01 kilometres. And then through turn 1 we go. Still Steffi Harm obviously leading the way. We will have another lap under yellow flag conditions. So everything will remain as is at the moment. Drivers to watch out for in this race, of course, both drivers on row 2. I think René Reina and Andre Kurzim are definitely 2 drivers to watch throughout this race. Don't rule them out for a win. Of course, Andre Kurzim has already had a win this season. And keep an eye on Stefan Faas. He had the engine control unit, the ECU issue in qualifying, which meant he didn't qualify, so he started at the very back of the grid for race 1, worked his way up into 10th place, which is of course where he starts for race 2 of the day. And having made up all that time, working his way through both Chrome and Titan drivers, do not rule him out for potentially a top 6 finish here today. And then we will see what potential that truck has tomorrow morning in qualifying. Of course, we've got qualifying 2 getting underway at around about 10 to 11 local time, 10 to 10 if you are watching in the UK. Everybody still out and circulating, of course. No major reason to push the trucks too far. A little bit of a drift here and there, some heavy braking and everything like that, just to get your machinery up to temperature, because once we do go under green flag conditions, there's no more time really to get everything up to temperature. All you've got to think about is getting that next position and getting up through the order. So any gain you can get now will really come to you. Steffi Harm through the final corner. And now all she's got to do is drive her own race, focus forward and see what she can do about extending that lead gap. The yellow flag's still out at the final corner. There we go. So at the start line gantry, we are now back racing under green flag conditions. And Steffi Harm has started with a 2.5 second gap, so that is exactly what she needed to do. She then has Theo Calvert sat there in second place just behind, with Rene Reina sat there in third place. And under pressure already is Andre Kurzim looking around the outside. Never mind that, gone around the outside. Adam Latchko, he's managed to make it work. Great stuff all the way around the outside. And he is up into now fourth place, trying to follow him through. Couldn't quite pick out who that was. So trying to follow him through, I think, was actually Antonio Alberthetti in the 23 MAN. But look at that lead gap already. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen all the times between everybody. So at the moment, third and fourth are both Bagheera Racing Freightliners, the number 20 of Theo Calvert and the number 55 of Adam Latchko, followed then by Andre Kurzim, being hounded around by Antonio Alberthetti, but in towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane again. The number 77 of Rene Reina sat there in second place. He's going to feel the wrath of both the Freightliners behind. And then it's all down to almost tyre management, because the last thing you want to do is go drifting around, overheating these tyres in this temperature. It sounds difficult to do in the rain, but it is very, very easy to do, and don't outbrake yourself. But look at that lead gap. Steffi Harm doing brilliant things up at the top end of the order. Both the Freightliners side by side. It's Adam Latchko on the inside, and he does get that move done, I believe. So Theo Calvert dropping down into third place, or had he actually worked his way up into second and he's lost it again? I'll have to keep an eye on that. There is Aliyah Kolok. There is Steffi Harm working her way through the Jackie Xbox. Then is Rene Reina, and it's Adam Latchko, I believe, in third place now. Have they swapped around once again? We'll see through the mist. And I think it is, yes. Adam Latchko sat there in third place. Then it's Theo Calvert sat there in fourth, followed by Andre Kurzim. And all the trucks filing in behind. The number 23 of Antonio Alberthetti, pardon me, sat there in sixth place, followed by the number 30 of Sasha Lenz, still with Norbert Kish just sat behind. So at the moment, 7th and 8th remain as is. We've got a truck sat stationary on the left-hand side of your shot there. I think that was Luke Garrett with an issue, so we'll have to try and get some information on that. Up the inside, though, for second place, a very, very big look from Adam Latchko. You've got to be brave to get it done through Lucien Bianchi-Bocht, but he gave it a go. Rene Reina really has got his work cut out for him here, because Adam Latchko looks to the inside in towards Lucien Bianchi-Bocht. Is he going to look to the inside once again in towards the Klein chicane? No, he isn't. Using all of the road, though. Through the chicane we go once again. Adam Latchko gets a brilliant run through there, an even better exit. Over the hill we go, under the bridge, down towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. It's going to be last of the late breakers. Let's see what happens here. It will be the inside line for Adam Latchko, late on the brakes, and almost position made, too wide through there. They just about will manage it. Rene Reina not going to give him that, elbowing each other out of the way, but Adam Latchko does manage to get by. Rene Reina has to settle for third place. Theo Calvert looking to pick up on any scraps going there. 3 wide in towards the Turleman box. How did that happen? Did they all get through? Norbert Kish was involved there. I think so too was Sasha Lenz. In towards the hairpin we go once again. There is Jamie Anderson. Sasha Lenz looking up the inside. There's a little bit of contact. They're 2 by 2 at the moment. It's Sasha Lenz, Jamie Anderson, Norbert Kish and Shane Brereton all side by side. So there is Sasha Lenz on the right hand side of your screen, managing to work his way past and into 6th place. And you can see the horn or you can hear the horn from Norbert Kish, evidently not massively amused with Jamie Anderson in the way. Norbert Kish up the inside in towards the Jackie Xbox. I think potentially they're still side by side. Yes, there goes Jamie Anderson. He did cut the corner there, so I'm sure race control will be looking into that. Shane Brereton has got all of this going on in front of him. So he's got the best seats in the house for this one. We've still got Steffi Harm leading the way from the number 55 then of Adam Latchko. The number 77 of Rene Reina still sat there in third place. Up the inside once again goes Jamie Anderson in the number 33 MAN. Norbert Kish was looking to the outside. Very wide though goes Sasha Lenz. Does manage to keep his position. I think yet more contact between Anderson and Kish. It's still Shane Brereton sat behind. But Steffi Harm pretty much clued as to what's going on behind her. She doesn't need to worry about it. She can just focus forward. But look at this train of trucks all coming towards Lucien Bianchi box. Yet more contact between Kish and Anderson. Luke Garrett has lost power, hence why he is retired to the right-hand side of the circuit. So unfortunately, we won't see any further action from himself. But there is Sasha Lenz. As soon as he got past Jamie Anderson, he's just escaped and disappeared into the distance. A lot of bodywork damage to the front of Norbert Kish. I think he's been getting his elbows out there, showing Jamie Anderson potentially where the outside of the track limits are. Hopefully he can continue on without too much of an issue. Behind though now is still Shane Brereton under pressure from Stefan Faas, who's been working his way, or he's been trying to work his way forward, but it's really difficult when you've got all this going on in front of you. Behind him then is one of the, I think that's actually one of the Ivecos. Is that the number 1 of Jochen Hahn? We will see now. Yes, it is. Then we get back to Alia Kolok. But it's Steffi Harm leading the way. And it's only getting busier really behind. There is Sasha Lenz in towards Bolderberg Bocht. Still managing to fend off the attentions of Jamie Anderson. Thank you very much to our marshal. Very brave marshal indeed, going out while the trucks are circulating, fixing one of the bollards that has been strewn to the side of the circuit. Somebody clearly finding the edge of the track limits. But here we go again, another little look, I say a little look, a very big look up the inside from Norbert Kish. Couldn't quite get the move done this time. He's still trapped behind Jamie Anderson, and all he's seeing is his championship rival race away in front. So Sasha Lenz has really got to make the most of this now. Look at this, Norbert Kish on the extreme right-hand side of your screen, weaving around, trying to get whatever aerodynamic benefit he can off Sasha Lenz. But I think Sasha, maybe not with the best run coming out of the final corner. He's looking to the inside, is Norbert Kish, trying to follow the same gap as Sasha, allowing Jamie Anderson to run himself out wide, and potentially 2 for the price of 1 here. Norbert Kish up the inside. It will evolve to the outside for Sterrenwacht, and still side by side, Norbert Kish and Jamie Anderson still knocking doors, but Sasha Lenz really the winner out of this. I think yet even more contact between the pair of them. Norbert Kish, you can see where he's positioning the truck, so he's no longer got a truck on his inside or outside. So it does now mean Sasha Lenz has worked his way past Jamie Anderson. So too has Norbert Kish, and they've swapped once again. Jamie Anderson now back in front of championship leader Norbert Kish. Shane Brereton is still sat watching all of this, and you can see the Tank Pool 24 Scania in the background of Stefan Faas sat following along as well. I think he's potentially been picked off by the number 1 Iveco of Jochen Hahn. So it's still Steffi Harm leading the way under ever increasing pressure. Actually, no, she isn't. Potentially some sort of mistake. Now 9/10 back off Adam Latchko. So we do now have a new leader, number 55 Freightliner for Bagheera Racing. Adam Latchko, 2017 champion, now in the lead. Steffi Harm sat there in second place now. Then it's Rene Reina sat there in third. Fourth is the number 20 machine of Teo Calvert. And then we get back to yet more battles. We've got Antonio Albertetti sat there in sixth place. Then we get back to Sasha Lenz, Jamie Anderson, Norbert Kish and Shane Brereton. Norbert Kish riding on board now, the number 41 MAN, helping himself to, I think, the rear, helping himself to the rear bumper of Jamie Anderson through the Jochen Rindbocht, and then heading towards the final chicane. There is the number 55 machine, Adam Latchko, as previously mentioned, now leading the way. Steffi Harm has dropped back 2.5 seconds since the overtake. So the Bagheera Freightliner now leading the way for everybody else. Steffi Harm sat there in second, and then the number 77 of Rene Reina sat there in third, who's got a nice little battle on his hands here, because it does mean that Teo Calvert is pushing him around. So too is Antonio Albertetti and Andre Kurzim getting in on the mix as well. And then we get back to this brilliant battle. Sasha Lenz has managed to leave the battle behind, but it's Jamie Anderson and Norbert Kish still sparring away around what is a very wet Zolder circuit. The number 29 of Alia Kolok, she went out towards the left-hand side of the circuit after turn one, lost a lot of time and then returns to the circuit. So I'm not sure whether everything is okay behind the wheel of her truck, but she is still continuing on. There is Norbert Kish and Jamie Anderson still battling away in towards the Klein chicane. They're still nose to tail once again, and something has got to split the pair of them. There's got to be either a mistake or maybe one driver slightly more favourable around this circuit than the other. Arguably, all of the momentum is going the way of Norbert Kish at the moment. Of course, championship leader and race winner from race 1. He's really sat on that rear bumper of Jamie Anderson now. So they're still nose to tail, going through the tail section of the circuit right out towards the woodland before we then end up heading back towards the slightly more populated area of the circuit. Olderberg, Jokkerud and Jackie Xbox all through the final couple of sectors. And then hard on the brakes for Norbert Kish once again. Is he going to help himself to the bumper of Jamie Anderson? Just about. And then puts his foot to the floor again. Jamie Anderson gets the better run of the two out of the hairpin. Down the back straight we go again. Of course, all trucks limited to 100 miles an hour, so there's no real time to be gained there. It's all about the entry and the exit of the corners. But it's still Latchko leading the way from Steffi Halm and Rene Reina, your top three. Then we have Teo Calvert and Andre Kurzim, as well as Antonio Alberthetti separating that pair. But it's still this battle, we can't take our eyes off it. It's still Jamie Anderson somewhat holding up now, I think. Norbert Kish, we saw the horn being sounded from Norbert Kish's MAN earlier on in the race, letting him know his frustrations. There is Steffi Halm working her way through Lucien Bianchi-Bocht, and there was Rene Reina coming under ever-increasing pressure from Teo Calvert and Antonio Alberthetti. You can see that battle in the background. There goes Steffi Halm, and I think we do have Andre Kurzim pretty much on this battle now as well. So it's 4 trucks all battling away for the final step on the podium. So it's led at the moment by Rene Reina, managing to fend off all the attentions behind for 3rd place. And then we have Teo Calvert sat there, as well as Antonio Alberthetti and Andre Kurzim. You can see the wheels shaking just at how much pressure is being put through that brake pedal, trying desperately to get the truck slowed down. Manages to do so successfully, loses a little bit of time now. Teo Calvert all over the tail end of the blue and green Iveco, the number 77 of Rene Reina. The incident between number 41 and number 33, pardon me, Norbert Kish and Jamie Anderson, we saw a lot of damage on the front end of Norbert Kish's truck. We suspected he'd got that off Jamie Anderson. That is now under investigation. I think we were side by side for the final spot on the podium. Last time I looked, it was Rene Reina and Adam Latchko side by side, in towards the hairpin once again, or in towards the chicane, I should say. It's still Rene Reina managing to fend off all the attentions from behind. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's put the floodgates up and he's not allowing anybody by. It's still Rene Reina in 3rd place. Latchko looking to the left. It will be the outside of turn 1 if he decides to do it. I think this time he's just thrown caution to the wind and he's more than happy just to sit there. Even more damage on the front of that Bagheera Freightliner. A little bit of sideways action as well. Antonio Alberthetti sat there waiting in the wings, looking up the inside now of Adam Latchko. Can he get the position made through Stedden Vogt? He does, up into what is now 4th place. How long that lasts, I don't know, because the ferocity of that battle has only been increasing since the start of the race. So it does now mean Antonio Alberthetti in 4th place. Adam Latchko with a piece of bodywork dissipating. I think he may have made a little bit of contact with the tail end of Antonio's MAN. So he has now lost his front bumper. He's now in 5th place, and Andre Kurzim sat there in 6th. Just waiting for something to happen, I think. He's got to be careful, though, because you can see the hard-charging Sacha Lenz just sat behind, working his way forward. Now, Norbert Kish has managed to work his way in front of Jamie Anderson. And Shane Brereton has pretty much watched all of that, and he has now got Jamie Anderson sat right in front of him. But there is Rene Reina, hard on the brakes, the entire cab shaking under the pressures. Through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane we go, under more and more pressure from Antonio Alberthetti. So Antonio looking to work his way onto the podium. Adam Latchko still leading the way. Steffi Harm still sat there in second. And then we get back to this brilliant battle for third place. Got a great camera angle here, heading in towards the hairpin. René Reina on the inside. Does manage to stop any advances from Antonio Albacete. And then it's Teo Calvet trying to hold on to whatever scraps of that battle he can. Still with Andre Kurzim and Sascha Lenz. Then we get back to the man we're riding on board with now, the number 41 Hungarian of Norbert Kish. Managed to work his way in front of Jamie Anderson. And he's still trying to chase down his championship rival, Sascha Lenz. Back to this brilliant battle though. It's René Reina heading on to lap 9. I think that is a black and white warning flag there, so I'm sure we'll end up with an update as to who that is going out to and why they are receiving it. Potentially something to do with the incident between Norbert Kish and Jamie Anderson. But here is René Reina under more and more pressure from Antonio Albacete for the final spot on the podium. Still battling away, heading towards the camera now. They've separated a little bit, so it's no longer really for the final spot on the podium. It's René Reina and Albacete just battling away for third spot. Then it's the number 20 of Teo Calvet under pressure from the very sideways Andre Kurzim, who's being chased down by Sascha Lenz, who is being chased down by the number 41 of Norbert Kish. And in the background you can still see Jamie Anderson coming under a little bit of pressure from Shane Brereton, who has got Jochen Hahn just sat behind, with Stefan Fast trying to chase him down as well. As they disappear out of our sight and then back into our sight, heading in towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. The shaking again from René Reina, just about managing to get the truck slowed down. You can hear the tyres squealing for some sort of remorse, but it's still Reina sat there in third place, Antonio Albacete in fourth. And now we have, once again, Teo Calvet on the tail end of that battle. So it's 3 for third place at the moment. You could almost call it 4, because we've got Andre Kurzim there or thereabouts. And if we're going off that, you could almost call it 6, because Sascha Lenz and Norbert Kish all there as well. And, of course, a massive thank you to everyone back at the factories to allow this brilliant racing to take place, even while using 100% renewable HVO diesel. That powers all of our race trucks here. There is René Reina, hard on the brakes, in towards the Jackie Xbox. Being pushed through there by Antonio Albacete, who has got Teo Calvet just behind, with Andre Kurzim pushing him through there as well. There is the tail end of the order, but back up to this battle for the final step on the podium. Reina going defensive, going one way, then the other. Very late move there from Antonio Albacete. Can he get the truck slowed down? He will end up grabbing the apex. Yes, he can. A brilliant move. He read the situation perfectly. Very sideways and touching the gravel there is René Reina. Can he keep it going? And Antonio Albacete also working his way through the grass as well. Very, very slippery over there. Locks everything up. Can he rejoin safely just about without too much of an issue? So that has thrown a spanner in the works for everybody else, who managed to come out on top of that. I think potentially Teo Calvet has managed to inherit third place. Yes, he has. Andre Kurzim now sat there in fourth. René Reina, a big look up the inside, trying to make amends for that previous incident. I think almost a forced error from Antonio Albacete. Then we've got Sascha Lenz and Norbert Kish just sat behind. So from what we thought was going to happen, the complete opposite did. It does now mean Teo Calvet works his way back into third place and the final spot on the podium. All this going on has really been everything Steffi Harm could have hoped for. She is now, what, 12 seconds up the road somewhat, or 14 seconds up the road, I should say, of all of this battle. And round the outside goes Norbert Kish, having a little look in towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, decides to throw caution to the wind once again, and maybe it's not quite worth it as of yet heading into the chicane. It is still Sascha Lenz sat there in 7th place. I think that has actually evolved into 6th place now. But back to this camera angle, the incident between number 23 and number 27. So that is what, when we saw Antonio Albacete and René Reina sideways over the grass, that is now being investigated by our brilliant race stewards. There is Teo Calvet in 3rd place. Andre Kurzim just sat following along, riding on board with Norbert Kish, who's managed to be picked off by Antonio Albacete. So race 1 winner and, of course, race 1 pole sitter and championship leader, Norbert Kish. He is only going backwards as it stands. the number 41 machine losing out down into 8th place now. So the last thing he wanted really from that, so he's got to try and catch back up to and pass Antonio Albacete before he can be remounted towards Sasha Lenz. There is our race leader heading by, Adam Latchko. He is now on the final lap of the race. Steffi Halm following along, and then it's the long wait until we see this battle once again. Which is Teo Calvert and Andre Curzin, followed by Rene Reina and Sasha Lenz. And it's Antonio Albacete, and eventually we get back to Norbert Kisch. But there is our race leader, worked his way past, or through and past Steffi Halm, I should say. So Adam Latchko bouncing over all of the curbs, using all of the track available. And that Bagheera Freightliner really is charging forward. So it's great stuff from the number 55 machine. Adam Latchko, one of our Titan drivers, so one of the pro drivers out as well. So he will take the overall and the class win, of course, if he keeps it on the road. Enjoying himself now, the final couple of corners of this race. Just kicking the tail of that truck about just a little bit. See where he can find the limits. In towards the Boulderberg Bocht for the final time of race 2 of the weekend. The final time of today goes Adam Latchko, followed by Steffi Halm. And then there's somewhat of a 16-second gap back to the other battles. But here comes our race 2 winner. A brilliant drive from Adam Latchko. I'm just trying to figure out where he started. He started in 5th place on row 3 of the grid. Adam Latchko comes towards the line, ladies and gentlemen. Your race 2 winner of the weekend. Your race 10 winner of the championship. Great stuff from Adam Latchko. He takes to the top step of the podium. And then it's Steffi Halm to finish in 2nd place, who is going to take 3rd. The last time through a timing zone was Teo Calvert. Here he comes through the final corner with a train of trucks behind him. Teo Calvert just about manages to fend off the world and everybody else to finish in 3rd, followed by Andre Curzin. Then it's Rene Reina, Sasha Lenz and Antonio Albacete. Norbert Kisch after finishes a hard-fought race ahead of Shane Brereton. Then it was Jamie Anderson following through as well to round out your top 10 finishes here, barring any stewards' inquiries from here on out. And then it's just the final drivers working their way through, but a very, very, very action-packed race. It was brilliant to watch. And I've got to say, I think there's a fair bit of bodywork that needs to be retrieved from the circuit and find its way back onto its appropriate truck. The marshals will be very busy, because I'm sure there's a fair bit of fiberglass strewn around the circuit. But after a very busy race, I think potentially the best driver came out on top there. Adam Latchko, very well controlled race, got in front and just drove his own race there. All he had to do, and he did it. Steffi Halm, brilliant result for her. Of course, starting on pole position, reverse grid pole position as well. Having finished 8th in race 1, she got herself on the front row and on pole position for race 2, and stayed towards the front end of affairs and finished in 2nd place. And 3rd place, a rather battered and bruised looking Teo Calvert. So the Bagheera boys will have some highs and lows, I think, from that one, because of course they've had 2 trucks on the podium, but they'll have to find a couple of new front bumpers to reattach to their Freightliners. You can hear Adam Latchko over the moon with that result. And I'm sure everybody back at Bagheera Racing, the boys, the girls, and everybody who does anything with that team, well and truly deserved after a very hard-fought win. Great result for the team. Even more points to add to the standings. And I'm sure we will have a very, very, very happy Adam Latchko for an interview at some point after the race. And somebody who I expected to go slightly further up the order was Stefan Faas. He managed to finish in 12th place after starting in 10th. So he only went backward really from there. I expected a little bit more from him. But with all the battles going on, who can blame him really? There was a hell of a lot to watch. There is the rather battered and bruised Jamie Anderson. Of course, an incident between himself and Norbert Kisch is under investigation. Shane Brereton following him around as well. And then there is the Tank Pool 24 Racing Scania of Stefan Faas. So in towards the pit lane, everybody will come. Or the top three will come, sorry. I think everybody else works their way back round to the escape road towards the paddock. So past the camera goes Adam Latchko, so does Steffi Halm, and then the number 20 of Theo Calvert, and anybody who isn't either on the Titan or the Chrome podium will return to the paddock. So while our circuit officials and championship coordinators are awaiting the arrival of our podium sitters, I'm sure we will have some results available to us in a few moments' time. But Adam Latchko, what a drive. And I've got to say, very happy for Steffi Halm as well. Started on the front row, finished on the podium. Good haul of points for her. There is the winner's board. And stopping just in front is Adam Latchko. You can still see how wet the circuit is. There is Steffi Halm, and then there is Theo Calvert. So that is your overall podium. And of course, Theo Calvert, a brilliant weekend for him, because he doesn't only take third place overall, he takes the win in the Chrome class as well. So great stuff from Theo. And then behind you've got the number 17 of Shane Brereton as well. Shane Brereton, who finished second in the Chrome class. And barring any stewards' inquiries, does mean Jamie Anderson will finish third in the Chrome class as well. There is Adam Latchko, over the moon with that result. Really, really well done to himself. Very, very happy chappy. And going over to celebrate with the team. In the background, you can see Steffi Halm celebrating with her team as well. And Bagheera Racing, 2 trucks on the overall podium, 1 truck on the Chrome podium as well. Great stuff for those guys as well. There are a few war wounds to most of the trucks. You can see the fiberglass freeing itself from the main bodywork, and that will require a little bit of attention, maybe just a bit of duct tape and a couple of zip ties will fix that for tomorrow. But of course they've got all night to work on these trucks, so a few new stickers required, a few new body panels, and then give them a good old polish so they're fighting fit for tomorrow's qualifying, Super Pole and 2 races. Once again back here tomorrow. But Bagheera Racing, I'm sure they are over the moon with that result. The podium will be brought to you in a few moments' time. Of course, we will have the Titan podium first and then the Chrome podium as well, of which Theo Calvert will have to attend both. So at least there won't be too much to do in regards to flag changing. There are some zip ties already applied to the Bagheera Racing machine, so a few more definitely necessary. And it's now just time for everybody to wind down, cool down, get everything packed away, ready for tomorrow's action. Get ready for the podium in a few moments' time as well. You can see in the background the flags being readied. I'm sure there won't be too much of a delay for that one. And you can just see that front left-hand side of the number 33 of Jamie Anderson has got a little bit of damage on it. I think really Norbert Kish took the brunt of that battle, of course losing a front bumper and then losing a little bit more bodywork as the race wore on. So Jamie Anderson getting away with that fairly likely. We do have Chris with an interview with Adam Latchko. So unfortunately, we did have Chris with an interview, but I'm sure we'll grab that in a few moments' time. But Adam Latchko, he will be a very happy man. I can only imagine what he's going to be saying when we do grab him for an interview. There is Shane Brereton's MAN. Very clean, one of the cleanest trucks I think we've got out. Very little damage on that truck, a little bit on the front right, but nothing that a little bit of duct tape or potentially a new bumper can't fix. You just see the engineering that goes into these trucks. The chassis, very open to view, but very, very heavy duty, and they have to be, especially when they're handling these sorts of powers, whether it be horsepower or torque or maybe the power of another truck helping itself to your rear bumper. We've seen that a little bit today. Very, very close racing, almost touring car-esque. Everybody helping each other just to a little bit of your door or your rear bumper. But thankfully, we do now have the interview available. So down to the pit lane with Adam Latchko.
What an incredible race. Wet conditions are your favorite conditions?
Yes. When it's starting raining before the race, I'm very happy. I'm a little bit change of setup and I enjoy all the race. First few laps I pass a few cars, and to the end I'm concentrate, don't make mistake and go to the front.
Why you are so strong when it's wet?
I'm strong on the wet from the go-karts when I have a 6-year-old. I like every time wet condition. Until now, it's same.
So congratulations from us. We talked before with your team manager and he predicted a little bit that it could be a very good race from you. So what does it mean for you to win here in Zolder?
It's perfect. It's, I think, first win in this season maybe. And it's perfect. I get a point and I get maybe I stay in the championship, and we will see what happens tomorrow.
Is it a little advantage to drive a Freightliner when it's wet?
It doesn't matter when it's Freightliner or MAN or Mercedes or Iveco, because when I'm racing with MAN, it's also or Renault. I have every time fast.
Yeah. So you hope a little bit for rain for tomorrow again?
Yes, I hope, but I think no chance. Tomorrow maybe sun.
Okay, good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. That was my earplug. Thanks.
So a great interview there from Christopher. Thank you very much for grabbing a word with Adam Latchko, of course the Czech driver, third in the championship. He had 5 top 3s heading into this round, and finally he can add a win to that as well. We do have results available to us in a few moments' time, but Adam Latchko from third in the championship, finishing let's figure that out, almost 5 places ahead of Sasha Lenz ahead. It will close that gap down. Adam Latchko, there you go, our race winner for today, just under 5 seconds to the good over Steffi Halm. Then it's Teo Calver and Andre Kursim. Then it's René Reina and Sasha Lenz in 6th. Antonio Alberthetti crossed the line in 7th place, followed by Norbert Kiesche after a hard-fought battle with Jamie Anderson. Shane Brereton picked up 9th place. Jamie Anderson crossed the line to round out your top 10. Then we have Jochen Hahn not really making any inroads from his race 1 results, finishing in 11th place. Then it's Stefan Faas, Alia Kolak and Luis Riquenco, who I didn't really catch much of throughout that race. And of course we had the retirement as well from Luke Garrett, pardon me. There is Steffi Halm taking to the podium. You can already see the 3rd place driver of Teo Calvet on the bottom step of the podium, not to take away from it at all, but there is Adam Latchko taking to the top step of the podium with another little helper. And now we will have the national anthem of the winning driver. There we go, that is the Titan podium. Great stuff from Teo Calvet, of course. He's had 2 wins from 2 in the Chrome class this weekend and managed to work his way onto the overall podium, 3rd place. So great stuff. Trophies held aloft by all 3 of our drivers. So more photo opportunities for our media. And of course, a massive well done to Steffi Halm for a very hard-fought 2nd place. She did what she could to prevent Latchko working his way past, but nothing could really match that Freightliner in the wet. Of course, Latchko mentioning he's always been very strong in the wet. Ever since he started in karts, he worked his way very quickly forward in the wet. And now it's time for the champagne. Guards taken off, porps cocked, and champagne sprayed out over the cameraman, mainly I think, and then over to the teams. So great stuff from our 3 podium drivers, just celebrating with each other after what was a brilliant race, very wet race as well. Teo Calvet celebrating in Adam Latchko celebrating in slightly more of a unique way than expected, but I think the big winner from this weekend has got to be Teo Calvet. A really good race one. He managed to finish 7th overall, but of course take the win in the Chrome class. And then in race 2 of the weekend, race 10 of the championship so far this season, he has finished 3rd overall and of course taken another win in the Chrome class. So yet more points to go towards his championship tally. And it will be another Goodyear Cup towards him as well. So great stuff from Teo. And a very good question was brought by Christopher, of course, asking whether the Freightliner was maybe handled slightly different in the wet than any other trucks, because visibly it looks like it's got a slightly longer wheelbase, and it tends to be longer wheelbases are more stable in the wet, but clearly Adam Latchko proving it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Where he's raced previous, he's just always been quick in the wet, and I suspect he will always be like that. If we've got wet conditions tomorrow, keep an eye out for him, but like he says, that we are expecting drier, potentially a little bit of sun tomorrow as well, so the track conditions will be changing over the rest of the day and over the course of the night as well. Now it's time for our Chrome podium. So to take to the podium first, it will be Jamie Anderson. So clearly no further action required from the stewards. There is Jamie Anderson. And then we have Shane Brereton behind the wheel of his number 17 MAN, takes to the 2nd step of the podium. Then it's Teo Calvet to take to the top step of the podium as well. Great stuff from Teo. The 2nd time on the podium from race 2. The 3rd time on the podium this weekend. Really, really good weekend from himself. So brilliant stuff from Teo. Now it's time for the national anthem of the winning driver. There, Adam Latchko celebrating off the podium. There is Teo Calvet on the top step. Another podium for his collection. And that is the 3rd trophy this weekend. So great stuff from himself. More opportunities for the media to get a photo, and yet more champagne to be sprayed. There we go. It's Jamie Anderson beating everyone to it and absolutely covering Teo Calvet there. So 2-time Chrome winner this weekend. Great stuff from Teo. And a very, very good weekend. Hopefully the momentum can stick with him heading in towards tomorrow's proceedings. Another qualifying session and Super Bowl session, as well as 2 more races as well. Following the same format as today, the race 3 results will be reversed for race 4, so the top 8 reversed. Now it's time for a few highlights of race 2. So starting under yellow flags, we had 2 formation laps due to the wet weather conditions. The Iveco S-Way pace truck guiding everybody around there. While the wet conditions slowly started to subside. So everybody could slowly build the pace up, get the temperature into the tyres, the brakes and the engines, getting ready to go green flag racing. And only 2 laps later, we did just that. There is Steffi Halm. She led, of course, from pole position. There we go, green flag racing. We went. Steffi Halm, after finishing 8th in race 1, took to the pole, and very sideways over all of the grass there was one of, I think that was potentially Shane Brereton, very sideways over the grass. There is the number 20 leading number 55, Teo Calvet and Adam Latchko. Freightliner Bugera Racing teammates, almost a little bit of contact there while looking up the inside of Rene Reina was Adam Latchko, eventual winner, of course. And from there, where did we go? Adam Latchko, very late move up the inside of Rene Reina, just about after a little bit of contact on the exit of the chicane, just about there. He managed to work his way through into what was at the time 2nd place, chasing down Steffi Halm. Later on, we saw all this action going on. It's Sasha Lenz trying to work his way up the inside of Jamie Anderson. Norbert Kish riding on board now, looking at the tail end of Jamie Anderson. He did pick up a little bit of damage. He was just that close to the tail end of the MAN driver. There was a little bit of contact there once again, and the horn sounding from the Hungarian's truck sideways in towards the final corner for Sasha Lenz as he tried to escape the wrath of the two sparring pair behind. In towards turn one, we had Sasha Lenz on the inside. He did what he could to defend, but then there was a little bit more contact between the pair of them. You can see the damage on Jamie Anderson's MAN. In towards the Klein chicane, they both went still nose to tail. And then as we looked back to our leader, it had changed. Adam Latchko took to the front of affairs, with Steffi Helm having to settle for second place. This battle still wore on though. Jamie Anderson and Norbert Kish pushing each other around this Zolder circuit, with Shane Brereton with the best view in the house, waiting in the wings, hoping for something to happen. There was Rene Reina and Theo Calvet battling away, trying to decide who wants what position. Antonio Alberthetti was also sat waiting to work his way through as well, with Andre Kurzim hot on his heels. Rene Reina just about managing to get the truck slowed down into all the chicanes. You can see the truck cab shaking. By the time we looked back, it was Rene Reina not under pressure from Theo Calvet, but from Antonio Alberthetti. Heading onto the next lap we went. They were bound to make contact here. Throwing the truck around was Antonio Alberthetti, very late braking up the inside, managed to just work his way through, but did elbow Rene Reina in towards the gravel. Very, very sideways moment for the both of them, but they did manage to make it work. However, that was then under investigation from the stewards, and it did allow Theo Calvet to work his way into third place, and he did indeed stay there. There's the number 55 of Adam Latchko, yet further extending his lead of Steffi Helm. Working his way through one of the chicanes here at Zolder, and he did so successfully and worked his way to the line to take the top step of the podium. Steffi Helm, very, very good race for her to finish in second place, then followed by the rather battered and bruised Theo Calvet to finish in third place. So race 2 of the weekend got off to a wet start, but the action definitely didn't get taken away by the conditions, and we've got 2 more races tomorrow and another qualifying session to look forward to. And for Adam Latchko, he'll be hoping that it's wet, but the forecast shows otherwise. Potentially yet more conditions for the drivers to deal with tomorrow. Now it's time for the overall standings. After a few highlights, there we go. Norbert Kish still up at the top of affairs. Came into this weekend only 3 points ahead of Sasha Lenz, and finishing on day 1, he's only 6 points ahead of Sasha Lenz now. So he's barely managed to work any way away from Sasha Lenz in his MAN. And then it's Adam Latchko with a brilliant weekend so far. 3 podiums for him to sit there in third place in the standings, followed by Antonio Alberthetti and Steffi Helm up in 5th place, now only a point clear of Theo Calvet. Then we have Jochen Hahn, Andre Kurzim and Shane Brereton, and Anthony Janiak sat there in 10th place. So thank you very much for joining myself, Jack Werrell, for race 2 of the day. And from myself, until tomorrow, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Sean Brereton is with me. Congratulations, it was a hard and a tough fight. How tough is the fight with Theo Calvet?
Yeah, it's hotting up. Me and Theo touched earlier. Theo sort of sparked it off, but I'd gone off track limits and ended up in front, so that was my infringement. It's just unfortunate. We're both fighting for a position, and sometimes you get these things happen.
Why you don't let him overtake and get the penalty?
Because I knew he'd hit me off, and there's the way the rules are written. Even though I'd been forced off the track, I still went by while we were off the track. But I come into the corner in front of him, so I thought that I was in front before we got to the corner, if that makes sense. So that's why I didn't. And as the race went on, we just panned out and had to take our chance and put it in the officials. But it turns out that's how it is, and Theo had 2nd and we were 11th.
Yeah, you don't get the information during the race, or you wanted to clear it out after the race?
Pardon?
You don't get the information during the race and you wanted to clear it out after the race. Did I get it right?
I did get the information, but it was about 5 laps in. So I pulled a big gap out on Theo, and I couldn't even see him in my mirror. So I'd radioed where he was, explained to my engineer that I'd been forced off of the track, so surely when we take the evidence it would be okay, but we made a mistake.
Okay, thank you very much. So we solved that thing. That was, of course, a big discussion here. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10:50 we have again our broadcast, and I'm happy to see you again. Thank you very much and have a good evening.